once again, we have gone back to our regular videos after 2 weeks, or I should say a month of videos recorded at the conference. I'm Christopher Brannon with the Coeur d'Alene Public Library and the Cooperative Information Network.
And I'm George Williams. I'm the Next Search Catalog Coordinator at Northeast Kansas Library System. Looks to me like you're still at the conference. That looks just like the library in Portsmouth behind you.
Yes. Joining us today is the entire koha-US 2023 conference attendees. So no, it was a fun conference. We had a lot of great feedback and a huge turnout. So I was really happy with that conference.
Yeah, I had a great time. Portsmouth was really nice. I'd like to go back there and have a real vacation there sometime.
Yeah, I definitely would like to. It's one of my favorite places that we've gone to so far, and I would like to explore it more.
It was really fun being able to walk from the library back to the Airbnb where we were staying and walk past these houses that were built in 1770.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to walk by and these houses have plaques on them that say, this is a 1780 house, this is a 1770 house, this is there's a lot of history there that, growing up in Idaho, nothing was ever more than, a lot of things weren't even 100 years old.
We do have historic places around Coeur d'Alene, but yeah, when you're going through a town that is mostly historic, it's quite different. It's a much different feeling, and yeah, I look forward to the chance of getting back there someday.
I wonder where next year's conference will be. I wonder how that gets decided.
Well, caught me off guard. But no, if you go to the website koha-us.org and go to the 2023 conference link, on that front tab on the conference, we do have a link down at the bottom to submit a proposal for next year's. So.
Yep. I'm willing to bet that when this video comes out, there'll be a link at the bottom of the page, at the bottom of the screen that says how to get there, huh?
We might include it right here. So awesome. So yeah, we're back to our typical format. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, here's a quick blurb about koha-US.
This video is sponsored by koha-US, your place to look for all things Koha. Whether you're just starting out with Koha, or you've been with Koha for a while, koha-US is a great place to find resources, learn new tips and techniques, or connect with other users and libraries. Koha-US provides excellent information, both original and curated from around the internet, including the terrific every other day training videos. You will also find several special interest groups to connect with, as well as our general monthly meeting where we gather to talk about the latest Koha news. You should also check out the koha-US annual conference, held at various locations around the US. This is a great opportunity to meet with other users face-to-face, and build your Koha network, as well as new friendships. And of course, don't forget about the great presentations. Koha-US is also actively involved in the Koha community by contributing towards new developments. If you are interested in contributing towards Koha-US funded developments, join the Koha-US membership. Your annual membership builds the funds to sponsor new developments in the community, and as a member, you also help shape Koha-US with your membership votes, and receive a discount on the annual conference. You can also contribute towards developments through a direct donation, or by purchasing some great koha-US merchandise through our Threadless account. Visit us at koha-us.org to find out more.
All right, so today we're going to have a very short video. We're going to talk briefly about recent changes in patron searching. I can't remember. Do you remember when this first hit Koha?
I believe it happened with the upgrade to 23 or 2211.
In 2211. So it was
Yeah, I
fairly
believe it
recent
happened
for,
in 2211.
for Bywater customers. It's fairly recent. For those of you that are on the bleeding edge of Koha code, it may have been addressed already. Well, actually, it's been addressed in 2211. It's been addressed in an update. But one of the things that hit Koha, which caught me off guard, I didn't think a lot of it until recently when I was doing a search for a certain patron. And well, let me just show you what we ran into. So, okay, I'm on our demo site and I've prepped a patron in a similar manner to what we were dealing with. I'm going to search for a patron, some of our trusty test patrons. We have a bunch in there by the name of Frosty. In fact, one that we've used a few times in our videos has been Brenda, but you'll notice that Brenda does not show up in this list. In fact, if I narrow it down, Brenda's not showing up at all. The reason being is there is some text before the last name. And we had this happening with one of our libraries. They were putting the word staff in front of the name. And so there's Brenda right there. So this was how some of the libraries were filing them, because they wanted to see the word staff whenever their name popped up for various reasons, whether it had to do with holds or checkouts or notices or whatnot. So this is what they were doing. This was their workaround. We've since adjusted this and are doing this in a little bit more ideal situation where we're not adding extra words to fields, but this definitely threw things off, and I couldn't figure out, I wasn't sure why this was happening at first. But George, you reminded me of a particular situation that had transpired recently with Koha, where
Yeah.
Some changes were done for the sake of better searching the patrons.
So I would describe this as a way, as a reason why Koha users, the people at the libraries, the end users, should be checking Bugzilla regularly. Because the way that this transpired is somebody at a library asked well, if you go to the patron screen, if you go to just click on patrons and go to the patron page, you'll see in that search box on the left, it says search, and then the search field, it says standard, and then the search type starts with. So what somebody noticed at a library is that this search used to be, instead of starts with, it was contains. And somebody at a library, I don't know where exactly, they said, we would like why is it that the last name search, the standard search, is a contains search instead of a starts with search? Because it seems to us that when you search by last name, you always want it to be a starts with search, because people only have one last name. And a developer saw this and they said, yeah, that'd be easy to fix. I can fix that. We can just change it so that the default search for in the dropdown over there, the search type will be starts with. And so that change went through and it became part of 2211. And then libraries in Spain and other countries outside of the US, where many people have two last names, and people can come in and say, my last name is, and it can be either their first last name or their second last name. They started having a lot of trouble because the way that they had been searching for people for years, all of a sudden that search type had changed from contains to starts with, and they couldn't understand why this had happened. And so what ended up happening is that there is now a system preference called default patron search method. And and this is the new paradigm, this has been backported into 2211, is a library can choose whether the default search method starts with or contains. But this is exactly the reason that it's a good idea for people to be checking in Bugzilla regularly and keeping an eye on things, and making sure if at some point when this development was proposed, if somebody had said, this isn't going to work for us because everybody in our entire country has 2 last names, and now you're making it harder for us. If that had been brought up to the developers before this was added to Koha, then we could have started off with a default patron search method instead of having to have that, all of us be rushed into Koha quickly to fix the problem. So
Right. And the order of events here caused an issue as well, because when this first came out, it didn't have a preference. They just changed the default. And so it kind of forced Koha and everybody in it to use that default. And then when they added the preference, they went and left the default with starts with, because when Koha modifies things, they try to leave, when they enhance things, they try to leave the behavior the same as the previous version. Well, when they introduced the change to the starts with, there was no preference to default it to previous behavior. So they were just changing the behavior. And then when they came out with the preference, they had to default to the previous behavior, which ended up being the starts with.
Right.
So yeah, that produced some interesting side effects, because A, they changed the behavior of Koha, and B, when they introduced the preference, I mean, unless you're keeping up on those settings, those of us that didn't realize there was a new setting out there, didn't know, oh, hey, we can go and fix that now. So
yeah, I had a couple of libraries that kept sending me these questions, and it became even more complicated. If you go back one tab to the left, this became even more complicated, because when the change was made, if you go up to the search patrons in the navigation bar up there, if you go over to the little icon on the right hand side, this was also complicated by the fact that the developer that wrote the change for the boxes in the left hand column didn't take into consideration the change in the boxes in the navigation bar. So for a time there, right after the upgrade to 2211, the search for patron in the left-hand column on the patron page was starts with, and the search type in the navigation bar was contains. So that created a problem for me, because I would go, when somebody would send me an email saying, when I do a search for this patron, it's not coming up, I would go to the navigation bar and I would say, well, it comes up fine for me. What are the steps? And I had to actually sit down with somebody and say, show me what you're doing where this doesn't work right. And then we had to go through step by step. And I said, well, the difference is that this doesn't match that anymore. And so we had trouble there too.
yeah, and in fact,
and that has been fixed also.
Yes.
I believe that default password search method, default patron search method, now controls both positions for that starts with or contains drop down. So
yeah, so if I actually reload the page here with it as starts with, you can see that both
are now starts with,
are set that way. And if I do the contains,
and then reload, and they should both say contains.
And I didn't, before I even knew about this preference, I did discover in this page, I went and did the search here, and I noticed that it said starts with, and I noticed that there was another setting for contains. And so that's where I discovered maybe it's defaulting to to starts with, just in general everywhere. I didn't even realize this thing existed up here until you pointed it out. You know, it's rather
it's a little more hidden than it used to be. There used to be a plus sign on the side of the box, I believe.
well, even then, I never touched that stuff. I mean, it's very invisible for the most part, which is, you know, kind of, you know, why it is smallish. It's, you know, it's meant to stay out of the way. You know, not a lot of people have to touch it, but if you need to, you can.
Right.
But, yeah.
So you're speaking to me like somebody that has never worked circulation. So because at the circulation desk, I always have tended to use it and seen people use it. So
I have never, and I don't know if much of our staff, it just depends on how a person has been trained and
yeah,
and what they're observing that's going on in front of them. So, you know, I may have seen the plus many times, and I may have hit it once or twice, but nothing ever really registered with me because I just use what's in front of me for the most part. So now if I, you know, do it from here or just, you know, wherever in general, if I'm doing search, did I say that? Yes, I did. Okay. So if I do that search,
yeah, there she is.
She comes up. Now, you know, this leads me to best practices within a database. I have since, you know, even though we've been able to rectify this situation, I have talked to people that were involved in creating this issue well within the database, and have said, you know, it is not a good practice to put information in a field that has nothing to do with that field. You know,
right,
if
it's
we're
a
sending out
workaround.
notices, you know, that shows up there and it doesn't look professional. It really kind of bungs up your data, and who knows what kind of issues you have to deal with down the road from an upgrade or, you know, a migration. It is not a good practice. What we ended up doing, what they were doing this for basically was, and I'm not going to share that this week, maybe we'll do it in another video, but they were putting that there so when they were printing off hold slips, they would see staff there. They separated out their staff holds from the public holds. They didn't put the staff holds out on the public shelf. They just put them somewhere different for the staff. So that's what they were using it for. I ended up you know, going back and forth with some people that needed this, and ended up creating a patron attribute saying private hold, and when it's turned on, it puts that information in the slip. When it's turned off, the slip just appears as usual. So it's all it does, all that patron attribute does, well, it doesn't do anything on its own, but the slip will look for that attribute to see whether it's on or off and provide extra information.
Cool.
So anyways, that's all I have. And just a reminder, if you're checking out our videos, oh, I should show this since I've gone and changed some things a little bit. Let me share this real quick.
You changed our webpage?
I changed our webpage a little bit. So if you're looking for our videos, they're in the same place, but so if you go to koha-US.org, you will find our videos under Learn Video Playlists, but the page has changed a little bit, streamlining some things so I don't have to do as much editing on the page. So our most recent video in the playlist will always show at the top, and this one has the conference logo because it was the last one that we did, which was at the conference. But you'll have our latest there, and then you'll have them going back in descending order on the page. It'll show the top 6, and you can keep scrolling through that. We also have our conference playlist, so all the videos that have been separated out from the presentations are there, and then our general meetings are in here as well, and then the other Bywater videos that we've included. So that's one way to get to our videos, but if you want to check us out through YouTube, you can always visit youtube.com/koha-US, no dash, and our playlists are on that page. This is gonna, it's got an automatic video there, but you'll find our playlists in the playlist tab. I'm thrown off because it has the conference logo on it, but
Yeah.
there's our every other Thursday. When we post this video, that will change back to our regular logo, but you'll see our videos here and the whole list there. So you can check us out there. It'll also include the links in the descriptions that, of any resources that we point out, anything that we reference in there. So the notes are a good place to look at if you're looking for things and not just scanning off of the screen with the QR codes. But you can also subscribe to the playlist, get notified anytime we put out a video. You can also tell us that you like these videos just by hitting the thumbs up. Please don't ever push the thumbs down.
I'm going to go do that right now.
Oh, thanks. You can also share our videos, but we highly recommend, if you want to keep up with our videos, to at least subscribe to the playlist, if not the entire channel. We have a lot of great resources out there for you. All right.
We'll see you later.
See you in 2 weeks.